Hello and welcome back. This kind of episode is going to span over two parts, just because we kind of ran out of time on the first part. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making this nice timer up here, and this timer is going to count down from any value you like, but we've set it to 60. And it's going to change this label over here so that we can see it, and when it finishes, it's gonna spin us round and round and for about 8 seconds, and the spin will get faster and faster as it goes, and eventually it will tell us looped and then reset the entire game. So I think let's just have a look at how it looks. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So you'll see it starts spinning us once it reaches the bottom. Timer goes haywire. That's a desired effect, don't worry. And once it spins for a while, it says looped, and the level resets. So in part 1 of this episode, we are going to be making the base mechanic for the countdown timer, just to get it to count down from our desired number and stop when it reaches 0. Then in part 2, what we're going to do is we're going to get this label set up so that they can actually see what time he's on, what time they're on, and we're going to write the code to spin the level once the timer reaches 0. So whether you're on part 1 or whether you're watching part 2, let's get straight in, or let's continue. Welcome back. In this video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making the timing mechanism. So that's basically we're going to be making a countdown timer. I don't know if we'll have time in the video, but we'll try and get it done. Basically, our checklist is, let me just open up Notepad and let's write a quick checklist. Yeah, that would be a good idea. So let me open this up. Right, our checklist. We need to make a countdown mechanism. No, that's not the title. Checklist. We need to make a countdown timer. We need to display this timer. We need to spin the world when the timer runs out. What else? We need to I think that may be it for now. Yeah, should we leave it at that? If we think of anything else that needs to be done, I guess we can always just add it on. But that's the checklist for now. So, minimize that. Let's get started in Unity. So, I've said so many times now, but what we're going to do first of all is we're going to need a game manager script. So let me go ahead and create a script, and we're going to call that C# script game manager. There we go. I'm not entirely sure why it turns into a cog, but I'm pretty sure that's because it has the word manager in it. I'm pretty sure it's something like that. Whatever the case, it doesn't affect the script in any way, so if yours doesn't, just ignore it, I guess. Right, so let's get started writing the timer. I'm going to open this up in VS Code and just check that everything's okay. Yep. Right, so just one thing to remember is that I'm not following any kind of script or guidance or anything like this. So I'm writing all this stuff just straight. You know, I'm just making this stuff as I go. So there may be errors, and if there are errors, we'll come back and fix them. So there's no need to like worry if there's an error. If you're following along and you get an error, and you pause the video to try and fix this error, there may be a chance that I get the same error, and I might fix it as well. So just play the video as well and just look ahead a bit in case I get the same error, and then that's an easy fix. If not, remember, if you have anything that you're stuck on, you can always leave it in the comment section. Right, so let's get started. I'm going to remove this for now, and what I need to do is I need to create variables for the counter. I'm going to do separate definitions of variables this time, because this is our game manager script, right? And the reason I created the game manager script, and over here I have that object called game manager, is this is going to control the entire game. It's going to be like the master script of sorts. It's going to do everything that the whole game needs to be affected by, and the timer is one of those things. So first of all, we're going to need a counting, like a kind of start number. What we can call that, I don't know, you can call it the count max time or something like that. And it's going to need to be public, so we can define it in the editor. To do that, I'm going to do a public float count, what did I call it? Countdown max number. And I'm just going to default that to, say, 60. 60 is a nice, what did I use here? I'm pretty sure here I use 60 as well, yeah. 60 is fine. Then I'm going to need another float, and this is, actually, do I? No, I'll leave it at this for now, I guess. Let's just work on getting the countdown sorted first of all. Then we'll work on the other stuff like spinning and displaying it. So I'm going to bring back the update function. Update, and in it, what we're going to have is, when you're writing code like this, it's best to kind of like think ahead and what's going to happen. And one of those things is I don't want the countdown to be always going down. For instance, if I go here and I restart the game, we've got this kind of like dialogue kind of bit. And while this is going, I don't want the countdown to start, because then that's kind of like unfair to the player. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a boolean. And so a boolean is either a true or false value, and it's gonna act as kind of like a trigger for us. I'm gonna have that boolean be private, and I'm gonna call it something like can spin, something like that, can spin. And by default, I'm gonna set that to false, because when the game starts, I don't want it to immediately start counting. Now, I'm going to need another function, right? Because I don't want this can spin variable needs to be changed from another script, not the game manager. For instance, the dialogue script, when we get to it, once all the dialogue finishes, then it needs to set can spin to true so that we can start the counter. For now though, I'm going to make the function as well, so it's ready, but I'm going to call the can spin script from the player controller. To say, no. For now, what I'm going to do, until we have an actual dialogue script, I'm going to call the start countdown function from the game manager's start function. I just want to check. Does it? How do I? Give me a sec. Yes, I think this is just like a specific thing I'm going to have for VS Code. So if you're using VS Code and following along using Visual Studio Code, then you can do this as well. I don't know specifically about Visual Studio or want to develop or anything like that, but if you just like pose as a question in the comments, I'll find out and tell you. what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna head over to the extensions tab and look for, I think it's called to do highlights. I think that's the one. Yeah, this looks like the one. And I'm just gonna install it. It's a third-party extension that's just gonna help me keep organized. What I'm gonna do now is how do I use it? There we go. So what this extension is gonna do is if I open it up, it's gonna highlight to do and fix me's in our code, so we can see it like very easily. So this is kind of like an example of what it's gonna do. Yeah, so I'm gonna come over here. I'll use it. Now that it's ready, I'll put it in the start function, reminding myself to get rid of the call to set canSpin to true. But what we actually need to do is we need to make that function that's gonna set canSpin to true, and I'm gonna call that function something like start countdown. And so because this needs to be accessed from other scripts, we need it to be a public void, and I'm gonna call it start countdown. Yep, there we go, and it's a very simple function. All it's gonna do is it's gonna set canSpin to true, just like that. And then over here I'm just gonna create some spacings. Actually, well, yeah, I'm just gonna create some spacings for now. Now I'm gonna have a start function, and I'm gonna do private void start. Also, one thing I should mention, I think in Visual Studio and here as well, I think it defaults to just void start. If it just says void start, that's the exact same as saying private void start. So if you don't want to type the keyword private, that's fine as well. I out of habit just like to write private there, so I can see exactly what's private and what's public. Now I'm gonna have a to do here, remove call to, and I'm gonna specify here start countdown function and add to dialog script. Right, so now that means that I should be able to, when I just quickly flick through this code, I should be able to see that I have a to do. Check if there's anything else. Right, yeah, so that's fine. Now what I'm going to do in this start function is I'm going to call that start countdown function, and to do that all I'm going to do is type start countdown and then give it two parentheses and close it off with the semicolon. Right, so this means that when our game starts, because it's going to see the key function, reserved function start, and it's going to execute it, it's going to run the function start countdown. In the start countdown function, it's going to set canSpin to true, where it was previously false, and then, now in the update, we need to make something happen. So, I've probably mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again. The reserved function update happens every frame, and so that's exactly what we wanted to do, because every frame we want it to count down. But I only wanted to do this if canSpin is equal to true. So I'm going to use an if conditional, and I'm going to say if canSpin, then the operator for equals is a double equal sign. If canSpin is equal to true, curly braces, what's it going to do? It's going to use our countdown, what do we call it? Countdown max number. Yeah, max doesn't really fit, so I'm going to rename this. I'm just going to call it countdown number, because we're going to actually change it, so it should just leave. No, you know what? Let's have a countdown max number, and then let's have a public float count down number, and then we're going to leave that undefined for now. And when we start the countdown, we're going to set countdown number equal to countdown max number. That way, if we ever want to reset the timer, all we've got to do is say countdown number equals countdown max number. And at the start, it set this to 60, so it should be fine. Now, if canSpin is equal to true, what I want to do is I want to subtract a current time. And to do that, we're going to use something in Unity C# called time.deltatime. And what that's going to do is it's going to subtract a certain amount of time, and that's basically the running time of the game, I believe. In simple terms, all it's going to do is it's going to give us a very nice counter. So, one-liner, I think. Countdown number, which is this, minus equals. And remember, if I put two operators together, so I put a sign and then an equals, all I'm saying is the same as countdown number equals countdown number subtract something. So countdown number minus equals, and then I'm going to call that time.deltatime. Right. You know what, I did say this, I'm going to explain everything, so I'm just going to head over to Unity docs, and this is a really useful document that you can use if you ever get stuck in anything about Unity, and it's basically all the documentation. It's kind of like a manual, as it says here, for all things Unity, and in it I'm going to just search for delta time, just so we get the proper explanation, there's no confusions. So just load up time, and then so that's not the right one. I'm just gonna do a quick Google time.deltatime Unity docs. Oh yeah, scripting reference, that's where we actually want to go. So there's a manual and there's a scripting API. The manual is for kind of more the editor side, and the scripting API is more about writing the actual code. Right, so it says here, yeah, the completion time in seconds since the last frame, and it's read-only. So that, by read-only, it means we can't change it. And what it says in completion time in seconds since the last frame, that's basically gonna it's gonna be the time that has passed since the last frame was displayed to the user. Yeah, so that looks like should be right. Yeah, so that should be set up, I feel. I don't know if it's that easy or you know what, let's test this out. And to test this out, what I want to do is I want to did I make this public? Yeah, so that's public as well. It doesn't need to be public, so later let's, you know what, no, let's make that private. And even though it's private, because it's private, it's not going to be accessed from other scripts, right? And I don't think it needs to be. Yeah, it does actually. No, it doesn't need to be, right? It doesn't need to be directly accessed from other scripts. However, I do want to see it here in the editor as part of a component. So, one sec, with this buffer through. Give it a sec. Just taking some time to load in all the code. Right, there it is. Say we take our player. So let's just take some. Let's take the player controller script that we wrote in the last episode. You can see it has these two fields, move limiter and run speed, right? And they're seen in the editor because they're public. But making them public has two kind of effects. One is letting us see it in the editor, and the other is making it visible to all scripts. But what we want to do is we don't want this to be visible to other scripts, but we do want to see it in the editor. And so to do that, just above it, we need to do square brackets, and we need to do serialize field. And by typing that, that means that that field is going to be visible in the editor, even though other scripts can't see it. Right, and just make sure that you type that directly above it. So you can say line 13, serialize field, and line 14 is the actual line. Right, so when we save this, and let's give it a try. So what we got to do is we first need to attach this game manager script to something, right? And let's attach that to the object named game manager, which is what it's for. Okay, and I'm just going to call game manager. Here we go. Countdown max number 60, countdown number 0. I'm just going to lower this to 10 for now, just so we don't have to wait 60 seconds. Do it right. So we should see countdown number count down from 10 and go down once this runs. Yep, so now 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Right, so there's two things there. First of all, when we're actually displaying this, as we said in our notes, we want to display the timer as well. We don't want it to display with all those decimal points after. We want to display it as a single number, so 10, 9, 8, and so on and so on. Also, we want to stop the timer once we reach 0. So, what we need to do is we need to provide a check that countdown number is less than 0, right? Because when countdown timer is less than 0, we want it to stop. So in the same update function, where we have if can spin is equal to true, we're going to have another if statement, and this is going to be if countdown number is smaller than or equal to 0. So this is going to tell us when it gets into the negatives. And what I'm going to do is this needs to only happen if can spin is true, as before. So let's just do another if statement if can spin equals true. And then in here, this is where we want stuff to happen. So I'm just gonna say can spin is equal to true. We are going to what we're gonna let me think. Sorry. What we need to do, we need to stop this boolean can spin, right? Because whenever it's true, this is happening. So if countdown timer is smaller than 0 and can spin is true, first of all we want to set can spin equal to false, and that should stop our timer. And then I'm just gonna, just so we can see, I'm gonna set countdown number equal to 0f. Yep, that should be fine. Let's reload the code in here. And we should see, if I run this, when this gets to 0, it's gonna just stay there. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Yeah, there we go. It stayed at 0 and it's not going into negative numbers, which is good because we don't want it to go into negative numbers. Now the other thing I said was the loaded decimal points, but I'm not too bothered about the variable having this number of decimal points because we're not displaying the variable itself, right? What we want to display is the integer number. So first we need to convert that to an integer. But actually I think the timer is running at around 20 minutes, so I'm gonna split this whole thing into a few parts, maybe about 3 parts or 2 parts or something like that. So I'm gonna end the video here. So in the next video we'll get, since now the countdown is actually working, in the next video we will continue this and get it to actually display so the player can actually see it. So remember, if you have any problems or anything, you can leave them in the comment section. Remember to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in part 2 of this kind of video episode. Yeah.